Huh?
You ghost.
I
You
believe in
ghost guy.
Jesus. I believe
The
in
Holy
Jesus.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Just that one.
Holy
Only that
Ghost
one.
is whatever Jesus wants in the Holy Ghost.
Okay. So if
Uh,
Jesus said ghosts exist,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe in it.
What are you trying to, you don't believe in ghosts?
No.
Yeah. It's weird
None.
because
None
you
of
look
them.
like one. You look like a,
Hey,
you look,
hey, that's because I don't believe in myself. All right. Hey.
What's your it's October, so we're
Mhm.
kind of getting a spooky vibe of things. God, I hate that
Yep.
the word spooky.
Spooky
I'm
vibe.
losing street cred by every
Cool.
episode
Don't
of this
worry about it.
podcast.
Don't worry
No,
about
don't tell
them.
me to worry about the streets. I'll worry about the streets if I want to.
Okay.
Let me, what's your best Halloween costume?
I want to go as Willy Wonka. I wa- that's
Sorry.
that's
Sorry.
that's my idol, man. That's I would
All
love to
right,
go
let's
as.
let's get into the podcast. I feel like whenever somebody says my idol is Willy Wonka, I feel like that just ends with dead children. So
No, man, they were all fine. They were all fine, but they were all shit kids anyway. The
yeah,
best kid
the
won
bad
out. You
kids.
know,
Yeah, no, the
Willy
bad.
Wonka is about eugenics.
If
Okay,
if
just kidding.
if pedophile just came out, I only touch bad kids, not the good ones. like
Whoa, it's still
whoa,
not.
it's
Why do you
still
think they're
not.
bad, dude?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
no,
Only
I'm
gonna
not.
get worse.
Look, I only touch kids that've been touched before. That's the there's a lot.
Whoa,
You like
so,
you? Okay, wait.
whoa.
So many
All right.
questions. So many questions. Like,
Were you even allowed to ask them? I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know.
it's
Speaking of
wild out here. Okay.
possible pedophiles,
Yeah, let's let's move on to our topic
Edgar
today.
Allan Poe.
Oh, boom, boom,
Hey,
boom.
here
Yeah,
we go. There we go. All
yeah.
right.
Original
First,
Sadboi.
yep,
Original Sadboi
the
gang.
patron saint of the
Uh,
emos out here,
Fucking yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
First spooky fucker that we're doing all
Different
month of
guy.
October.
Okay.
Born January 19th, 1809 in Boston to David Poe Jr., who served in the Revolution. I think he was like quartermaster of Maryland, and Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins Poe. And she was an actress slash singer.
Which
And
means she
David
made no money.
made no
Like,
money
made no
at all,
money.
just born into poverty.
Yeah.
You know, your dad's a veteran, your
Yeah.
mom's actress is singing. You're not going to make any. Your parents are broke.
No. It's not a good time. It's not a good time.
No. David bounces like I think a year after his son is born, and then Elizabeth dies of tuberculosis in 1811, and he goes to live with his foster father John Allan in Richmond, who I think he was in debt whenever he first went to live with them, and they're like moving around Richmond a lot because he was like a high finance.
What's Richmond
banker.
like? You've been to Richmond. What's that like? Is that a fun place?
It's weird, man. They're like two. It's kind of like Houston. It's comparable to Houston in that like inner city Richmond, they're like hip parts of Richmond, and like the Cary Street, they've got like all these cool ass bars, and like the interior of the city is pretty liberal, and also like a pretty sizable gay population in Richmond as well.
Yeah.
So you've got like
Hey, gay people everywhere. So
yeah, that's
I
true.
don't know
That's
why
true.
you're surprised.
But there's almost like a reclamation of Richmond that's happening to where and then you go outside of Richmond and you're like, you see dudes with like Confederate fucking biker patches patches on their biker jackets on moto. You're like, oh, okay. So
Virginia's not the South, so that's how I feel.
Yeah,
it's not the South. It's not the South. It's like whatever the DMV is. It's like the Potomac, whatever that is. That's what that is.
Virginia's a weird place.
Yeah.
So he's lives with John Allan. He's doing all right. Just what do you do when you're fucking 11? You don't do much. You get an education. He's like really good at languages, especially good
learn
at
to masturbate.
French.
But okay.
Yeah, that comes in later on. February of 1826, Poe enrolls at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. And he's like 17 at this point and already in college. And he's kind of a fucking square because he's like younger than all the other students there. And the students are really rowdy. They like to gamble. They like to drink. They like to fight. They like to break shit. They like to vandalize.
Yeah.
And then also there's this really interesting thing that happens when you're in college, that a lot of people, they have this tendency to fall massively into debt. And that's what Edgar does, only not through student loans, but through gambling. And so
Okay.
he comes home like $2,000 in the hole, and he's like asking John Allan for money, which he does this a lot. He's like
You
always grifting off of his foster father.
and you know I did the same thing. I fell into debt,
Uh-huh.
gambling in college.
Right
Also,
on.
yeah. What was the gamble I took? Getting a sociology degree. Dude,
Boom.
I'll be here all
Boom.
week, folks. I'll be here fucking all. No, I'll be here probably till spring next year
That's
because
right.
that's when they get a vaccine.
That's when they get it back. You can come back next week. I got a whole new set for you. You
No,
can
no,
ask
it's
people
the
who have
same. It's
seen
the
me
same
before.
set.
It's the same set.
It's the same set.
Just add a tag or two.
No,
And he
no.
asked John Allan for money, and John Allan finally just has enough of giving money to his like deadbeat foster son, and they have this falling out. And so from 1827 to 1829, he's like, "Fuck it, like any miscreant, I'm just gonna join the army."
Okay.
He gets as far up the ladder to sergeant major, but he can't go any further. If he's to be a commissioned officer, he needs to further his education.
Okay.
So he's getting his application to West Point in
Yeah.
order. And like he
Okay.
kind of like rebuilds the bridge with John Allan to where he's like, all right, I need help getting into West Point. You're a rich upper class Virginian. You
Mm-hmm.
know the people. You can help me out. And he
Yeah.
like, John Allen's like, all right, whatever, man. I'll put in a good word and get people to write you good letters of recommendation and all that stuff.
I get it. I hate my son too because
Uh-huh.
I get
It's like,
it.
fuck him. I mean,
Yeah.
because he's got this weird, it's like, you're not my son, but also I'm in charge of you. But
No,
also,
it's
like, I've got my own wife and my own kids, and you're just kind of hanging out off to the side. But you got to think he's like orphaned at age 2,
yeah.
and he like wants parental figures, and he's always looking for them, but nobody nobody
Nobody
wants them.
wants no. Yeah. Like, it's this weird thing where he's building the sadness
Uh-huh.
inside his soul.
Mhm.
That also, if you look at his actual chances, his life, and his actual like setup, there is great sadness there, but there also is like great opportunity to not be sad, to
Yeah,
not be a little sad boy.
not be a little sad, to rise above
Yeah.
the trepidations of depression
Yeah.
and forge, I don't
Yeah.
know, to
Forge it.
fucking do something with yourself, I guess.
Exactly.
But he did do something with himself,
But
but
it was a little sad boy stuff. But let's
little
move
sad
on.
boy stuff, just whining to a page, I
Yeah.
guess. So mid-November of 1829, I think this is the first time that he's published or finds a publisher for Al Araf and Tamerlane and like a bunch of his other poems.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good. They're okay. I
Yeah.
read I read Tamerlane. It was good. I was like, okay.
You know what's crazy is they're good because it's most people like couldn't read at this time.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yep.
feel like he was only publishing for like 14 people in that county.
Yeah.
And
man,
they're just
like,
like, oh, look, it's between these 14 people.
yeah.
Pretty good.
4 people don't like it. You
Yeah.
still got those other 10. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, majority says.
Creating a niche audience. That's what we're doing here.
That's all. That's
14,
what we're doing.
14
Oh.
people like us.
14 people at a time.
Yeah,
all right?
there we go.
That's all you got to do. He gets his appointment to West Point, and he's chilling at Moldavia, which is John Allan's estate, for a little bit, not the actual country. And it's said at this time that he's not very often sober.
Yeah.
He's hitting it kind of hard, and this is
Okay.
the beginning of an addiction that's going to follow him through the rest of his life.
I remember being 21. Come on.
Hey, but it
Burnett's.
never left
Burnett's.
though. It never
Burnett's vodka. Come on, dog.
left. And
Weird flavors. Sour,
Yep. Mhm.
sour milk flavored.
Tuscan raspberry.
Yeah, what?
Vodka,
Come on.
right?
Come on, big time.
Tangerine
Big time.
vodka. All
You
right?
drink so you don't feel anything, but you feel the only thing you feel is being
Mhm.
sad. 'Cause you're a sad boy.
You go to bed at night and you wonder why you can't wake up earlier than 10
Mhm.
o'clock every morning. You know what I mean?
No,
Huh?
I still got up and did my work and my job. But let's move on.
I don't fucking hate mornings, man. He enters West Point in March of 1830, and he's pretty rigorous in his studies and he's doing pretty good. And then John Allan gets remarried because his first wife dies, who like Edgar actually liked John Allan's original wife,
Mhm.
Fanny Allan, and then she dies, and John Allan gets remarried, and Edgar's like, well, what the fuck? I
Yeah.
liked her. You didn't really give a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot of downtime
Mhm.
between the dead wife and the new wife. And so he starts basically like throwing a tantrum at school and like ditching class
Yeah.
and like smoking weed and, he's not smoking weed, but metaphorically smoking weed and
Mhm.
just like acting out like a, he's throwing a tantrum.
What he doesn't get is that this is the 1830s
Uh-huh.
and wives die.
Uh-huh.
A lot
It
of people,
happens.
everybody dies. Your parents
Wives are
die,
dropping like
you
flies.
die,
Right? Yep.
everybody dies. It's a
Uh-huh.
death time. There's a lot of
It's,
death going around, like
yep.
today, kind of like today. But
Yeah. Lots of plagues.
yeah,
Late January. I'm sorry. He like so before he. Yeah. Late January of 1831, he gets court-martialed, and this is when he's expelled from West Point. He's kind of chilling there until March, and he starts like crowdfunding his next collection of poems
okay.
from cadets, and he gets them to put up money, and he finally does. He like publishes more poems, and in the inscription or like the dedication, he writes like to the cadets at West Point.
Crowdfunding in 1831 equals asking niggas for money.
Basically. Oh yeah, there was no like, please go like this page or please share this around, hit my GoFundMe. It was like, hey man, do you have $5?
Going up to every dude in this crowd and being like, yo, do you got money that you can give to me?
It's like, yeah, I got a little money.
Yeah.
What's the money going towards? Is
your
it
poems? It's 1831. I can't read, dog. I don't care about poems.
It's going to my
I just
poems,
care about it's 1831 America. I just care about slavery. That's all I care about. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. Like, want to hear about Tamerlane? Like,
no.
Who is that?
No.
So February of 1831, he's kicked out of military school. He's like, you know what, man? I've had enough of it. I need to stop wasting my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the Big Apple.
Like they all do. They all do.
I'm going to make it big.
Move to Brooklyn.
One real quick, though, before I do that, I am going to go ask my foster father for some money.
We all done it.
I'm going to need some money if I'm moving to the Big Apple. Housing Manhattan real estate, right? It's real expensive out there. I'm going to need something to scrape by on, And so he gets a little money, and it's like, it's an opportunity to like rebuild their relationship.
Yeah.
But he like starts that rebuilding by doing the same shit that he's done throughout their relationship. So April of 1831, he publishes Poems by Edgar Allan Poe, and it does pretty well, right?
Yeah.
He's staying with Maria Clem in Baltimore before he goes to NYC. I think, or maybe I think he's like on the way to NYC. He gets hung up in Baltimore.
Yeah.
With Maria Clem, who's a relative.
Okay.
And she's a widow who like takes care of her mother, Edgar Allan Poe's brother, William Henry Leonard, and his first cousin, Virginia.
Okay.
Who at this time is, I think, 9.
Yeah. Don't you know when you see your wife and she's 9, bro?
You're like, that's the one.
When you see your wife and you're not, and you see a 9-year-old and like, that'll be my wife one day. Yep. You're a pedophile. That's how that works.
You're creeping too hard. You gotta wait. It's bad.
Yeah.
So March 27th of 1832, John Allan dies.
Yeah.
And Louisa Allan, which is his new wife, refuses to see Poe or even allow him to get his books because she kind of senses, she just knows him as the shitty foster kid who's always asking for money.
Yeah.
And so he like comes back to the estate, or he's like in Richmond and like writing to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm not. I don't even want him here because there were some complications with John Allan's will or whatever.
Yeah.
And Poe's like, well, can I at least get my books? Like, I really got some good shit on the shelf that I really want to read. And she's like, you can't even have those.
Yeah. And this is so, I think in 1832, this is where he publishes like his first, like one of his first short stories, right? He's publishing short stories.
Yeah.
And this is a part, this is where he publishes Metzingerstein, a tale of imitation of the German. I think there's a German tale that's kind of similar to this. And it's this is where you're going to see Poe's writings for Black people are not great. I don't mean like, oh, they're just like not great. Like we don't like the way the narrative unfolds. I mean like the Black characters in these ways Poe talks about stuff are very racist. Let's put it that way. And specifically in Metzingerstein, Poe it expresses, he's a man of his time. So he is from Virginia, and he is from 1830s Virginia, writing about stuff. So
Yeah.
Metzengerstein is written in 1832, and it's just a story about the Blitzzinger family. I don't know these fucking German names. The Blitzzinger family and the Metzengerstein family. But the Blitzing family is like they own horses, and then the last heir of the Metzingerstein family, they like hate each other, and the last heir to the Metzingerstein family burns down their barn of the Blitzinger family with where all the horses were that they love so much, and then that heir that Metzingerstein family heir then like basically has a horse, like finds his own horse that was in that barn, and he falls in love with that horse, and then that horse rides him into a fire, and it's just
Uh-huh.
basically like a big metaphor for how like people shouldn't be abolitionists,
Uh-huh.
because like the horse being black people will end up killing them when free, like
Yeah.
anyway. Like
You
in
got Metzingerstein as the
yeah
abolitionist who's like wanting to free this horse,
yeah
and like in the short story itself, he's got like very if once you have that in your head and you read the descriptions of the horse, you're like, ooh,
yeah
ooh, because he's like, yeah, describing it as very like demonic and animalistic, and you're like, okay,
and then you can realize that he's from Virginia, and then this
yeah,
is a year or half a year that when he's publishing this after Nat Turner's Rebellion.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And then if you go through more of his writings, you go like to the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, where they've on this boy's like world travels. He there's a on a boat, there's a rebellion by a cook or a mutiny by a cook, and it's led by a black cook, and they have to put down this black cook's rebellion. And then also there's like they go to like an island full of black people, and the black person dies when it touches ultimate whiteness. um,
oh,
like
oh,
like the
oh,
murders of Rue Morgue. The maid that he has in that is just like be just doing Sambo impressions basically.
yeah,
So like just bringing this up just because I, as somebody who like was exposed to Poe in school, I didn't like the nigga because he was a sad boy.
uh-huh,
But diving into this more, I'm like, I don't like him because he's a racist sad boy.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they never teach those ones.
they
You
never
know what I
teach you
mean?
those.
They're like,
They never teach
oh,
you those.
follow the House of Usher,
Yeah,
Annabelle Lee,
yeah.
The Raven,
Just the
Telltale Heart.
tell.
And it's like,
All we did was Telltale Heart, and then like I'm delving into this, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah.
What did Poe's heart have to tell?
It was racism. It was
It was
racism. It was
racism.
calling people the N word. Like,
Yep. So October 19th of 1834, he submits for a competition sponsored by a Baltimore paper, which is the Saturday Visitor, and he wins. And his piece called "Message Found in a Bottle" is published. And some
yeah,
people think it's a hoax that he put, because it's actually pretty good. It's like he's like supposedly a sailor who's like writing about this ship that just appears out of nowhere,
hmm
and he gets on the ship, and it's basically like crewed by the damned, and he's like, I'll put this message inside of a bottle and send it out at sea, and hopefully somebody finds it so they can see all this weird shit that happened. However, I've also heard that it was like partly plagiarized, and that
hmm
he plagiarized a lot, like,
yeah.
or there were at least accusations of him
He was heavy
committing.
handed. He was heavy
Yeah.
handed, and I would like to be less heavy handed and tell everybody that 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 critique of Poe of his like racism comes from a article. His system, Absolute Poe, his system of transcendental racism by Maurice S. Lee. You know, we got articles. We be citing
Mm-hmm.
niggas. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You know, we
Sometimes
got
we
the site.
don't.
Not, this ain't just coming out of our ass. You
Yeah,
know,
no, I'm not
it's
this
all
good. I'm not this good.
transcendental racism.
Yeah,
Come on,
I don't even know
that's
what
a great
transcendental means. Half of
phrase.
that shit I didn't even understand, honestly. But I got he was racist. I got that
Yeah,
part.
there you go. 1835, he gets a job offer to work for the Southern Literary Messenger out of Richmond, and this is around the same time that he's like courting his younger cousin Virginia, who at this time is age 13. So at least she's
Yeah.
not 9.
It's
It's still
still
not still weird.
he saw a 9-year-old was like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck that
Yeah,
one day.
that's
That's
the one.
pedophilia. That's
That's
what
the
that is.
one.
That's what that
Yep.
means. We don't
August
need
of
Chris Hansen to tell us what pedophilia is.
No, man. We
Like,
know. We know. August of 1835, Maria Clem, whom they call Muddy, she writes to him saying that she's hit financial difficulties. She needs some help.
yeah,
And their other cousin, this guy, Nielsen Poe, has made an offer to take them both in and like pay for Virginia's education because like Poe's courting of Virginia is public knowledge.
yeah,
And so Nielsen Poe hears about this and he's like, hey, man, she's kind of young. Like, I don't know. Let's maybe get her out of this
yeah,
situation. And Poe's trying to ward this off as much as he can. He's like coming back, like, no, I can get a job. Look it, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll get a job. You don't need his fucking money. And
yeah.
everybody's kind of worried that he's gonna like kill himself because of all this. And then September 22nd of 1835, Poe's back in Baltimore. He takes out a marriage license
Mm-hmm.
for him and Virginia, and they perhaps get privately married to where there's like the record's a little obfuscated on this because they get remarried, they get
Yeah.
married later, but like
It has to be private because publicly everybody will be like, "Hey, what you doing with
this
that child, nigga?"
this is weird, man. What are you doing?
Hey, put down the kid, dog.
You go to the bridal shop, like, yes, sir. We don't make dresses in this size.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yo, this for a
the
doll?
logistics of this.
No, this is for my wife.
This is for my wife.
See, I was concerned when I thought it was for a doll, but now I'm gonna have to call the authorities.
I gave you the out.
Yeah,
Okay,
I gave
you swatted
you-
it down.
I don't-
What are you doing, man?
I'm just like I'm like literally just like a slave. I don't even want to be here, and you're making my life more difficult by
I'm
trying to
having-
fuck kids around.
Yeah,
me.
man, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
Early October of 1835, he returns to Richmond with Virginia, whom they call Sissy. So Sissy and Muddy are his like immediate family.
This is all rapey. This is
It's
all
all
just
weird.
a rape-tastic field adventure. Like,
Wonderland.
yeah, Wonder
I don't
Rape
wanna
Land.
call it-
It's
yeah,
what's
Wonder- it's
okay.
bad.
Let's keep moving.
Reemployed as an editor, not editor of the Messenger, because he initially had a falling out, and then he got
Yeah.
like reemployed as editor, not editor. And he advised Thomas White, the owner of the Messenger, who to publish. He's like giving critiques, knocking other people's shit
Yeah.
down, editorials, and then also using it as a platform to publish his own stuff. And his
Yeah.
critiques are very like arrogant and very haughty, and they're very like class based. Like this is shit. And his main strategy, and it's the strategy you still kind of see today with some shit, is just scoff at everything, condescend all the time,
Yeah.
and just knock shit down. That he would knock shit down that everyone else was saying was like great. Like, oh, this is the part that I agree with, is like knock shit down. If something's bad, say it's bad. You know, if people don't get caught up in the hype that everyone's like, oh, this is such a good work. It's like, no, if it's bad, it's bad. Don't just go with the herd.
No, I mean, also he's probably knocking down good shit, also too. Yeah, like,
Probably.
This isn't my stuff.
That's why you can't really trust other writers' opinions on a lot of stuff, because if it's better than yours, they're gonna be like, it's absolute shit. I hate it. But they hate it because they didn't write it, you know?
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the arrogance is it's designed to get dumb people to think like, oh, only smart people are arrogant. Like he wouldn't be.
Who would think that? Oh yeah, no. This is
if he was smart, you know.
This is 1830s. There's no
Yeah.
people. I mean, look, people are stupid. I say as we sit in 2020. But let's move on.
Only arrogant people are only smart people are arrogant. So if you just be arrogant, you know, you can kind of hurdle over being smart, I guess. But he's like able to build up his national reputation. And then 1836, he's like remarried to Virginia officially, but this time it's like public. And then other magazines start to call White out, the owner of the paper, for publishing all these libelous reviews because there's only so many toes that you can step on.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's retired, quote unquote, from the magazine in like early 1837.
That's just and anybody who like knows sports, that's just, hey man, that's how you get out of the contract. I retire and then I appear with another team. Boom. I'm out here. Like I'm gone.
Anytime you see like the words retired, it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean he retired from that government post? Really? He retired as Postmaster General?
You can retire. I mean, the people do be old and retiring. But
Mhm.
like, well, sometime we'll not no more because like our generation not gonna be able to retire because you know
Nope.
we ain't got shit. Let's move on. Let's stop being
And
sad. We're not doing sad boy stuff.
we're not doing this post shit, you
We're
know.
not doing post shit.
So 1838, he moves from New York City to Philadelphia, and he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to get a job, a government job. He's got this guy, he like knows the Navy secretary, and he's broke as fuck. Like his family is living on bread and molasses most of the time, which is just
Yeah.
it's just a sad life.
Which is
Like
bread and honey. Which is bread and honey, basically. Bread
scooping
and
out
sugar.
honey,
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
it on some bread,
Yeah.
and just chewing it
Which is
down.
which is
Ugh.
how I got through college. But let's move on.
Yeah, man, that's what a writer's salary will
Yeah.
afford you. You know,
Yeah.
bread and molasses. Spring of 39, he finds employment under William Evans Burton, who's
Yeah.
an English actor. He's got the Burton's Gentleman's Magazine, and he starts taking swings at like larger literary figures, most notably Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And he's like, "You're all just a bunch of fucking hacks, and you steal everything you've ever
Mhm.
written. You just
This is called being on Twitter. So you gotta take
that's
shots. You gotta take shots, big dog. You gotta take shots. Like I'll be taking
Yep.
shots at mad people saying mad disrespectful things. I called I called Michael Day a pedophile before I even got into comedy on Twitter. Why? Because I was trying to get into the game. That's how you get into the game. That's how it happens.
You just start adding people.
Yeah.
You know, add them, and then they take a notice of you. Then they read you their other shit, and maybe they're like, "Oh,
I saw one dude.
It's actually good."
There's one dude I want that I would like to get in space with some soccer writing, maybe in the future, football writing, whatever you want to call it. I called somebody on Twitter the other day. Said it was fucking out of his mind for his fucking review of what the fuck he did. Yo, he's fucking out of your mind. Just on Twitter. I don't know this guy, but that's what you gotta do to get into the game, baby.
I called somebody on Twitter a windbag of propaganda.
Okay. See,
I was proud of that
you
one.
You don't do it right. Nobody, like niggas would see that and be like, oh, all right, that's okay. Niggas use some words and shit. But
you gotta go scathing.
No, you have to critique their moms. You have to say their mom is a whore, and their children will never be nothing. They're gonna end up working at a enterprise car rental when they 48. You know what I mean? Not the manager,
man. Yep. Nope.
Now, Foot Locker is actually pretty cool, so you need to chill out.
All right. Well,
okay.
I mean,
no, let's move on. Let's move on.
The enterprise job would be a little.
No.
December 1839. He gets a collection of short stories published in Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque. I think that's the thing he published. It wasn't like it wasn't an anthology or anything. And all this work it like enhances his national reputation. Yet he's poorly received in Boston because there are some cities you just don't hit it.
Yeah.
June of 1840, he leaves Burton's. He's got like a really messy falling out because he's fucking drunk all the time and bumming money off of his boss, and his boss is just deducting it from his salary.
Yeah.
And then his boss also finds out that like Poe wants to start his own magazine, and he's been like advertising his own magazine or taking out advertisements in other magazines saying, "Hey, Edgar Allan Poe is going to start his own magazine called The Pen, and it's going to blow your mind how it's going to be huge," right?
Yeah, this reminds me of how Dr. Umar Johnson said he was going to have a school for years, and the school never materialized. A school that like taught kind of Afrocentric leaning teachings. It just never happened. And a lot of you niggas gave your money to that school, but it's wild. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, it just never happens because he just never got his shit together.
Where else? What other podcast are you gonna get a Dr. Umar Johnson anecdote about what that combines with Edgar Allan Poe? We're the truth, guys. We're the truth.
We're doing the Lord's work.
Give us our fucking coins, and by coins I mean more listens than we have.
Well, more listens. February 1841, Burton sells his mag to George Rex Graham, who merges it with another, and he like enlarges his circulation, and he does so by playing it straight down the fucking middle. Avoid all controversy because there's like a growing population of women readers in like the early 1840s that he's trying to appeal to them.
Okay, sexism, but all right, let's move on.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
The women don't like controversy. Have you seen the E Network?
Well, no.
Have you seen Bravo?
It was that's fair. That's fair. Exploding cakes and all that shit. Yeah,
what?
It's pretty crazy.
What exploding cakes?
I'm thinking of Hallmark movies, not Bravo.
Wow. Oh yeah, no, that is drama. There's a lot of drama.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's the same shit.
How is her husband gonna try to murder her?
On the next episode of hospital sex racket. I don't
Okay, see, that's not a lifetime movie. That's just porn. Let's all right. Like, all right. We're done with that.
Poe's talking to Graham about starting his own magazine, and Graham's like, "Hey man, I'll pay for it." Which, what a fucking sucker, right? Like, this
Yeah.
dude's record is shit. And
Yeah.
Poe's like, "Really? I'm gonna start, get these contributors." Or he starts writing to all the people who he formerly added and accused them of being hacks and plagiarists. He was like, "Hey man, I didn't mean it before. If you want to collab on this magazine, it would be totally cool with me, man. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be the biggest magazine. You want to get in this on the ground floor, all right?"
That's Edgar Allan Poe, Inventing Negging, 1842.
There you go. It's been a thing. It's been a thing.
You're ugly. You'll never be nothing. One of your boobs doesn't work the same way as your other boob. Your teeth are yellow.
Yep.
Your college, you didn't go to a real college. You went to ITT Tech, but you want to go on a date. This is how you do.
You want to
stuff.
smash? Yep.
Okay, that's a little bit grotesque.
All right.
Okay. All right.
March of 1842, he leaves Graham's magazine and he starts drinking heavily to cope with Virginia's illness, because she also gets tuberculosis. And this is something I didn't know, is that a hell of people were dying of tuberculosis. And I don't feel like I don't know how big of a concern that is anymore.
Yeah.
But like Indira Gandhi's family was plagued by tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Poe's, like fucking Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah.
I think somebody in his family died of tuberculosis. It's like, it was a huge deal. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Diseases can kill you. People don't seem to ever get that.
To grasp that.
Yeah.
It's a historic phenomenon that people get sick, and sometimes when people get sick, then they die, and like,
or
diseases
sometimes
can mutate and get stronger, and
or sometimes it cripples you, but sometimes it cripples you. Sometimes you become president. Sometimes you get people, working class solutions. But that's a whole different thing. All right, let's move on.
So she's the way they know about the tuberculosis is that she's like singing at home one time and she just starts like bleeding from the mouth, and it's like, oh shit. And it's kind of public knowledge that Virginia is really sick.
Yo, that would be crazy, but at the same time, that would work so well in a rap battle. Like, your mama is a hoe, and then bleeding from the mouth. Oh yeah, man. Like,
this is how
my bars that made me sick, and I just started bleeding from the mouth, coughing. Okay.
1842, Poe is moving toward a government position at the Philadelphia Customs House. However, there's been like a purge under Zachary Taylor, the president, and his contact, the guy who was supposed to get the job through, says like vehemently, he's like, Edgar Allan Poe, this job is not happening. I'm not supposed to. I've been instructed by the president not to hire anybody. And so in March of 43, Poe, this crazy dude, he just goes to Washington, D.C. He's basically like, well, I'll see about that myself. And he basically just like, this is during the time in American history where you could just like show up at the president's house as anybody and just be like, hello, yes, I'd like to talk to the president. Is he in?
You can just be anybody, because you could just not be like, you could be black and then like.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's
true. So check your privilege. That's very true. Let's move to the next. Let's move to the next point in his story. Okay. They always forget about us, don't they? No, but let's keep moving.
And he's also there to like find subscribers for his magazine, and he like can't see his contact because he's sick and he has no money, so he has to leave. Mid 1843, he's like publishing in other magazines. He's keeping busy. He's like republishing old stuff by like making a few tweaks and just being like, no, it's never been published before, you stupid jackass. And then this is also the time that he writes The Pit and the Pendulum and Gold Bug, which are two of his more notable works.
Okay.
From November of 43 to March of 44, he's on a speaking tour called The Poetry of America, just hitting around different venues and on the stump talking about how everyone else sucks and he is the quintessential ideal of a poet. And then April of 44, he moves from Philadelphia back to New York, publishing pieces in this thing called the Evening Mirror. And it's mostly essays about like what city life was like to people who would never live in the city. Like he calls it in the book, he calls it hack work, because he's just, his heart's not in it, but he's got to do it. You know what
I mean, sometimes you gotta write things that you're not into.
It should,
You know what I mean? That's the life of a writer. You
Uh-huh.
think like if people were to give me the soccer jobs to cover soccer that I would like to get one day, this is just a fantasy that I've had this week. This is not
Okay.
even something I've even seriously pursued.
Shit.
But then
Fantasies in the
in
works,
this
no big
fantasy,
deal.
I would have
Uh-huh.
to like watch a MC Gladbach versus Stuttgart game in the Bundesliga, and nobody cares about that
Man,
game. But
are those even words?
yeah,
Those are
yeah,
those
those
aren't
are
even
words and teams and places with
okay.
in the top flight of German soccer,
Okay.
the Bundesliga. It's a great game. It's a great league.
It doesn't it
Yeah,
doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but
no,
it's
it
there.
doesn't. Nothing in that place rolls off the tongue, except for hate in
Except for
concentration
hate.
camps. Yeah, all
Hate will
right.
come sliding down that tongue like a slip and slide. All
No,
right.
their hate would pull up in a train on time.
Okay.
On time.
All right.
Uh,
Then he's writing all this hack work, just unhappy with what he's doing. And then, as tends to happen when you're in the midst of freaking writer's block or just despairing and everything you write you hate, you get your breakthrough. And he gets his big breakthrough January 29th of 1845. Evening Mirror publishes The Raven. Boom! This is like a huge success for Poe. His most notable, famous work. He fucking explodes.
He is at this time 36, right? Okay, all right. That's often when it happens when you're just about to give up and move back home.
Move back home to Richmond and write more weirdly allegorical stuff about slavery.
Yeah.
It's like
Just you can call it hate speech, but
you know, it gets his big break. This is like,
Wait, what did you call it before? You had a great line before when we were talking about it. Before, it was the one of the maid characters. Like the stuff that he wrote for the maid character was just
vocal blackface.
Literary blackface.
That's not my line.
Literary
blackface. Literary blackface. That's your line, but I heard vocal blackface from somebody else.
No,
literary blackface is also it's
apt. Apt. Yeah.
It's February of 45. He shifts to working for the Broadway Journal because you publish something as successful as a Raven, you got more options. And so he like moves up the rung, and this is like a pretty big New York City magazine. And he starts writing reviews of plays, and he like, he has to go to the plays, obviously. And he's fucking ruthless. Like he's back to his old tricks. He says that one play is, quote, a mere jumble of unmeaning rant.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, this shit sucks, man.
I mean, some of these plays do be like that. I have been off Broadway, and it'd be just be like, come on, bro. You're gonna try to with that? Come on. Come on, Doug. It's bullshit.
Midsummer Night's Dream. You're gonna tell me that's not a mere jumble of unmeaning rant?
Yeah. Somebody's gonna leave a review of our podcast as a jumble of unmeaning, and they would be right. They would be right.
That would be so funny.
Okay, that would be. Please don't do it, but could leave 5 stars at least.
Leave 5 stars, please. But say a mere
jumble of unmeaning rant.
Great. That would be great.
Yeah.
March 1st of 45. This guy, quote unquote, Otis with a U.
Yeah.
Publishes that it's fake. Yeah. Publishes something in a paper about plagiarism, says parallel thinking is not plagiarism, and he compares The Raven to another pre-existing poem. And it's he's like, Otis is doing this in defense of Longfellow, and Otis might have been Poe, because like Otis, quote unquote, claims to be a friend of Longfellow, but Longfellow's like, I have Otis with a U? This is a weird thing. I've never heard of this motherfucker. Like, come on.
This is a weird thing that they used to be able to get. This is really, well, not used to. They do this same thing now.
Make a fake account.
Make a fake Twitter account, and they'd be like, "Oh no, people try to come at me. I'm just gonna at them and like argue in my own Twitter comments.
Yes,
because I'm a sociopath and I don't have anything else to do. Yeah, like you fucking like, bro. How would you like just chill out?
How about you chill out? You're like you're schizoid. This schizoid dichotomy down the center of your skull is playing itself out in a public medium. That's what Poe does, though.
You know what you should do? You should just chill the fuck out.
You should chill the fuck out.
Go down to Chinatown. get a happy ending, and just enjoy the bed of sex trafficking that our society is built upon.
The
Like
bedrock
the
of
bedrock.
American
This is
society.
looking at you, Robert Kraft. Come on, big dog.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Poe is just arguing with himself in a public forum. Longfellow doesn't say shit. He stays out of it. He's like, I'm just gonna let Poe burn himself out, basically.
Yeah.
And he becomes like obsessed with plagiarism. And other people can't help but take notice. They're like, hey, how is Poe doing? He seems to be kind of slipping. And of course he is. Like, he's drinking, he's getting sloppy. He's asked to like deliver the annual poem at NYU, and he's just like drunk the entire week because of the pressure of having to do that he's like, I'm just gonna fucking block that shit out, like, so he doesn't end up giving the shit.
I've been at NYU, around NYU in 2013. You went around with the fake ID. That's the only place. I forgot my fake ID denied there, but I was hammered, dog. Blackout, not blackout, but like, I mean, just running around, hey, doing a lot of that.
To all the bartenders that double check a fake ID, I just want to say, like, fuck you. You know?
Yeah, dude.
I know you're doing your job.
What is it? What is any of this? What are IDs? Come on, bro. What are you
doing? You know, legal drinking age in Australia is 18.
Come on, big dog.
What are you doing?
Come on, be a big dog.
And he's like hanging out at the literary soirees, like rubbing shoulders with the literary high society. And he begins a flirtation with Frances Fanny Osgood, who's another poem, and they start writing poetry back and forth. And he's still married to his child bride, keep in mind, who's still sick. And he's like, I can flirt with other women. It's no big
deal. Only thing worse than pedophilia, fucking and marrying a child, isn't cheating on that child bride. How dare you, nigga? How fucking dare you?
Stand by your decisions,
Stand by the woman that you have molested and raped. Stand by her.
Stand by it.
Yeah, this is
don't be over here flowing whatever way the fucking breeze blows.
He is trash. He's just a trash ass dude. And like, yes, he invented the kind of the American short story and the detective stories. He did it. Okay, but he is like human garbage.
We gotta
a human sewer.
Can you blame it on his childhood? Maybe. No. Is that enough? No, I don't think so.
No, it's not enough for you to
pass the buck.
Statutory re-rape your cousin and then cheat on
October 16th of 45, he's supposed to like give us open the Lyceum session. That's like some poetry event in Boston.
Okay, if they're gonna teach Edgar Allan Poe in schools, I should be able to listen to R. Kelly every once in a while. Okay,
that's fair enough. I think.
Just by myself, not in a public setting,
and not get any shit. All right. And he's like supposed to write a new poem for this event, but he's like doesn't write it for a long time because he's too busy stressing, and then he writes it, and then he's delivering it, and he spends the first 15 minutes of the speech just apologizing for how bad it is. He's like, I'm sorry, this is such shit. I'm going through it right now, man.
Hey man, stop being sad.
My child bride is dying. All right,
stop being sad. You're ruining the day for the rest of us. We're just trying to live a good life. I have tuberculosis. I'm gonna die in 3 years.
Yes, just dabbing him with his cloth. Like, oh jeez. And he like saves the set with a reading of The Raven, and Ruse come out. He's like, just fragile as fuck. Yeah. Late October of 45, he becomes a sole editor of the Evening Mirror, and he's unable to keep it afloat. He's just like taking out loans, but they're never enough, and he's just drinking away. And it collapses by January of 46. May of that year, they moved to Fordham, which is like in the Bronx.
It's the Bronx. Hey Fordham Road, shout out, baby. You know what I mean? Okay. It's the Bronx, and it is where, as Big Body Best says, you get all your good leathers. Get all your good leather jackets. Right. Come on, G. Okay. That's where you get all your good leathers and your shoes. Come on, wildin'.
All right. If I'm ever in Fordham,
get you a good leather.
I'll get it.
Get you a good leather.
I'll get a good leather.
Get you a good leather jacket.
Okay.
Go see a Yankees game. Because like that's all like right there. It's a very fun block. Very fun.
Okay.
Very, very immigrant friendly. Love Fordham. Love
a lot
Fordham,
of good food.
Probably
a lot of good restaurants.
Also like Little Italy's like right on. The Bronx is amazing, my nigga. Why would people? Okay, that's why they don't want to tell people it's that good. It's really good.
We're blowing up the spot.
Man. Yeah. So we should shut up. We should finish the podcast.
All right. So he moves to Fordham, and Virginia's in very ill health at this point. He publishes The Literati of NYC, which is a 38-part essay series, and it's basically a tell-all about all the people he used to be friends with at this literary soiree. Like, yeah, man, bet you didn't know that Henry Wadsworth Longfellow has a drinking problem, and he's a little bit of an opium addict. Bet you didn't know that Gerald Rufus Griswold likes to watch people have sex in the closet while he jerks off. Bet you didn't know all this weird shit about all these people.
But I do not include that I am a pedophile who is cheating on my on my dying child bride.
On my dying child bride.
On my dying child bride.
Okay.
Like, at least be faithful to your dying child bride. Am I right? That's just a step up. That's where he crosses the line. I'm just like,
and this pisses off everybody in New York City. And they're like writing responses.
Is nobody like, yo, the dude had, first of all, the dude has a dead child bride. That's a dying child bride. Did nobody say that?
I don't know if they had any room to talk. I'm going to be honest.
No, yeah, everybody was fucking kids.
Probably, everybody was being weird at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of kids in slavery. Like slavery and pedophilia going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that different from today, I guess.
Yeah, no, slavery still exists in the world. It's a thing. It's a
sad world.
It's a sad world. There's a lot of pedophilia. Just watch Chris Hansen.
I don't know who that is. I don't know.
No, that's the guy that comes up. Hey, it's Chris Hansen, and you're on To Catch a Predator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, cool. Chris Hansen, big guy.
And so he gets sued. Poe gets sued for libel at one point, and that case is cleared. And then he sues somebody else for libel. But before that suit is resolved, January 47, his wife, Virginia Allan, Sissy, the dying child bride, she dies of tuberculosis. And Poe and Muddy enter a period of mourning, and he wins that libel suit against him, so he gets some money. And at this time, he's also like, I don't want to say he's relieved that she's dead, but the thing is that the way it was explained in the book I read, Kenneth Silverman, Mournful and Never-Ending Remembrance, his biography of Poe, he said that she was sick for so long, and he was like going back and forth of she would get really sick and then he would get really depressed, and then she would recover and he'd be really happy, only for her to get sick again and he would get really depressed. And a lot of his other works, they frequently feature like a dying woman or a woman who has died or a woman who is ill or a woman who has passed. And so it's like now he's got like closure at least, and he knows that he's not going to be jerked around on this emotional roller coaster. However, he recovers through 47 to 48. And something that kind of pokes hole into that theory is that like 47 to 48, he's giving lectures, but also like courting a lot of ladies. So it's not even a year out. And the same thing that he critiqued John Allan for prior to, he engages in himself. So it's
sons are just like fathers, one. And also she was Virginia or Sissy was 25 at this time when she died. So he's probably like not into that because he is a pedophile. So he is like, yo, I gotta get rid of this chick. And I need to get back. So you know what I mean?
Maybe,
so maybe she just
all the ladies that he started courting after, I think they weren't young.
No, the ones like you know about.
Of
the
that's
ones,
true. That's true too.
Come on, big dog.
That's true too.
Come on. Sometimes you gotta take it underground. I got too much heat on you.
Yeah, man.
You
got everybody on your tail now that you wrote that 38-part series, Literati NYC. Everybody's waiting for you to fuck up. May of 48, he writes Annabelle Lee.
As they should be, because he's a pedophile. I just want to get they should be because he is a pedophile.
And all the women think in Annabelle Lee, oh, he's talking about me. Oh, he's because like he builds a huge house of cards in the summer of 48. He's courting like 4 or 5 different women. And something I will say about building a house of cards, if you're going to do it, you shouldn't do it. But if you're going to do it, you never build it out of queens. All right.
You can build the house of cards out of queens because they're still just cards.
No, because it's going to collapse. But these women are queens, and you don't want to build the house of cards out of these queens.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to do, and I see what you like did. You like literally like
I was ready for it.
You stepped aside, but then like but like look, it's not a good metaphor, and let's just kind of keep going with Edgar
I
Allan
thought
Poe
it
because
was
we're
pretty. I
like,
thought it was pretty.
it's,
I thought it
it's
was
pretty
pretty
bad. It's pretty bad. But let's move on.
Okay.
It's pretty bad.
Selling
I'm not gonna let you get that off.
Sarah Helen Whitman is the closest to winning his favor. They're writing poems back and forth. She's also widowed, so that's a plus. Common ground, things in common. So October through November, he proposes to her. She writes to him, basically saying like, oh, I'm kind of older than you, and I think I'm gonna die soon, and I don't really want to put you through that again after what just happened to your wife.
Yeah.
And he's like in Lowell, Massachusetts for a lecture. He's staying with the family known as the Richmonds, and he begins a romance with this woman, Annie Richmond, in the presence of her own husband. But they're at the point in the marriage where it's like, oh, I don't really give a shit. You know what? Like, you got your little boyfriend. Like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, no, like you do get there. Give it 10 years. You'll get there.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, somebody will pay attention to you. Just shut up. Anyway,
not surviving quarantine well over there. I see.
We're doing fine. We're doing fine. We're doing swell.
Okay.
So Helen writes to him at Lowell, and he storms off immediately for Providence to figure out what the fuck's going on with their proposal. And then November 4th of 48, he attempts suicide by taking a huge dose of laudanum, which is opium powder mixed in alcohol, and he just drinks a shit ton of it. He's like, I don't want to live anymore. And he survives. And
just because he was sad, just because he was a little sad,
because he was sad and worried about all these women that he was playing with. And somehow he gets a conditional engagement out of Helen, and she wants him to stop drinking. And he's like, "You're just gonna have to accept me the way I am. I'm not gonna stop that shit."
Okay,
and nobody really approves.
That's what I am. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna be a drunk.
Yep.
But if you'll love me, you'll put a blanket on me when I pass out in the kitchen.
When I get the shakes, and you'll clean up the vomit on the floor.
The shakes, you know? Jesus Christ, I don't even like to talk about those. Okay.
And no one really approves of this marriage. Everybody's like, he's kind of a mess, and he's just spiraling. And then January of 49, marriage is called off. Poe goes to Annie Richmond in Lowell, and she hears that the marriage was called off, and she turns him away because she was second in line, right? Yeah, and then rumors are being stirred by this family, the Locks, primarily Jane Locke, who was another of the queens that he was playing with.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she's upset that he came to her third, and so like now the whole thing comes tumbling down. You know what I mean?
He's just stopping in every town on the way, just he has 12 other women.
I'm a big baby man, and I need somebody to take care of me.
I need somebody to take care of me, though.
April of 49, he's back in Fordham. Muddy's worried about him. He's got an offer from a guy in St. Louis to form a magazine, and I don't know if you know it, but St. Louis is kind of a step down from anywhere. Like, nothing good happens whenever you feel the need to move to St. Louis.
That's a shot. That's a shot at you, Brad Gray. That's a shot at you, Brad.
That's exactly what it is.
That's a shot at you, Brad.
Always gonna come crawling back. Right?
just because you don't do a podcast, just because the regular Dude Report doesn't exist anymore, we're still taking shots at the regular Dude Report.
Taking shots, man. Taking them down. At us. Come on, man.
All right.
He's got an offer from this guy in St. Louis to form a magazine. He doesn't really want to go, right? June 29th of 49, he leaves Fordham for Richmond to scrounge for subscribers because it's like the only offer he has. Ends up in Philly. He's connecting with his old drinking buddies. He's just on a bender, goes manic, tries to kill himself. And then
that's a good summer.
Yeah, you know what I mean, man? You get with the boys, right?
Boys are back in town.
That's right, man.
One of them's going to die tonight. Yeah. Okay. All right.
July 14th of 49, he's in Richmond. He's sick. He's writing to Muddy, like, please come to me. And then while in Richmond, August to September, he's giving lectures. He lets Muddy know that he's actually managed to convince somebody else to marry him. Elmira Royster Shelton, I think her middle name. Elmira Shelton was her name at this time, but I think if it's the same person, he had proposed to her twice before, and then he did it again. Yeah, and she said yes this time after all this shit.
That's the weird one. You don't
That's
like
the weird one, man.
What's going on with you? I can't. This is how I get myself back on my feet. I come here, I propose to you, you say no, and then I go back to my real life.
Yeah, I go back to my real life. And then I propose to you again 5 years down the line. You say no again. Yeah. And then I go back to my real life. And then 10 years later, I propose to you again. And you say yes this time?
Like, this is weird. This is very
weird.
What happened to you?
I don't want it anymore.
What happened to you? Who are you now?
What's going on?
Okay.
What are you going through? And so he's heading back to New York because engagement is on. And on his way back to New York, he goes dark for a little bit on his way to Baltimore.
Okay.
And nobody really knows. Here's where the record like stops for a little bit. And nobody really knows what was going on, right?
Yeah.
Early October, he pops up outside of Baltimore just looking like shit, like looking disheveled. He's got the shakes. He's hallucinating. It's clear he's been like either like poisoned. Some say he was poisoned and drinking a shit ton.
Yeah.
And then October 7th of 1849, he dies at the Washington College Hospital outside of Baltimore.
Yeah. First of all, nobody pops up in Baltimore looking great. That's just not how you enter that city.
No.
That's just not how you enter that city.
Yes,
but no, that is how Edgar Allan Poe expires. It's just as randomly as he lived. And almost like he almost becomes one of the characters in one of his short stories.
Yeah. I was thinking that, to where his shit deals a lot with like madness and a man gradually going mad after the death of a loved one.
Yeah. Even in his tragedy, even at the height of his success, it always seems like he's just headed for another tragedy.
Yeah.
There's always a tent of
He's
sadness.
a man who's built to break.
Little sad boy.
Little sad boy.
Little sad boy. Little baby boy.
And put him up on this like great literary pedestal, like, oh, he was such a genius.
He invented the detective story.
And it's like, yeah, but he also
he was a racist piece of shit who fucked kids, but he invented the detective story. Come on, big dog.
I gotta draw the parallel to MJ.
Yeah,
he still did wonders for the music industry. But are we gonna ignore all that shady shit that went down?
Look here. Not on this on this podcast. We're gonna ignore it. Come on. All right. Next week.
Next week we are looking at Erzsébet Báthory, who is the infamous like vampire lady of Hungary. She killed like 200 women in late 16th century, early 17th century Hungary.
Everybody want to talk about Dracula. They don't know that there was women out here putting it down, bigger, better, stronger, faster, more death.
Better numbers. Yeah. Women can be just as ruthless and bloodthirsty and conniving and shitty as men can be.
In fact, more and smarter than you would ever be.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, Henry, where can they find us at?
They can find us at Hard Fried History on Instagram and Facebook, HFH Podcast on Twitter. You can find me, Henry Price, on Instagram, and just Henry Price on Facebook.
Okay, you guys can find me at Joshua B. Stokes on Instagram and Twitter, and Joshua Stokes on Facebook if you want to come and say hi. Also, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. We have videos up there. You can see our pretty faces. You can see me in this black wife beater or tank top, whatever side of the streets you come from.
And somebody please give us that review. I'm going to say it again: a mere jumble of unmeaning rant. 5 stars.
When you ask for it the next time, then it's bad. But give us 5 stars. Don't just say that and then like there not be like 5. Like give us 1 star like a dick. Okay? Yeah, that's all right. But thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. This has been Edgar Allan Poe. Have fun. Stay safe. Please don't get COVID because you're one of our listeners and we need you.
Yep.
See you next time, guys. All right. Bye.